Hello, everybody. I'm Brent.
I'm Darko.
And this is Fede with the devnullpodcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of the devnullpodcast. I'm extremely excited for this episode. Today, Darko, Fede, and I are going to be discussing a few interesting things that have been happening over the last couple of weeks. And if you are not familiar with either Bitcoin or GameStop, by the end of this episode, you've been living truly under a rock. So let's get started. Darko, Fede, welcome to another episode. Happy to be here.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, guys.
Let's talk about Bitcoin. It's been a few weeks since our last episode, and a lot has happened in the digital currency world. Right around the first of the year, mid to late December into the first of the year, Bitcoin hit its all-time high of right around $42,000, I think, per Bitcoin. And subsequently kind of fell back into that middle 30s and has been sort of dancing around between like 30 and 37, 38 ever since. I kind of wanted to have a chat a little bit about Bitcoin because for years I've been, Fede used the term skeptical. I'm going to steal that from you. Highly skeptical about Bitcoin, primarily because when I think of Bitcoin, I think of currency and I think of, people trying to spend it on VPN services, which, to my knowledge is still probably one of the only things that you can buy with Bitcoin. Actually, I heard that like in some sites you can buy airline tickets and things like that. That's beside the point. There's not really a market for Bitcoin as a currency. And I think given what's happened over the past several weeks, my perspective on Bitcoin has begun to shift. I'm coming out of the skeptic sort of side of thinking and to the point where I actually, took a pretty small position, something I'm willing to lose on Bitcoin right around the $30,000 mark. And here's the shift that I made in my brain. I was dismissing Bitcoin because I was thinking about it like a US dollar bill, right? I can't go to my grocery store and buy, a gallon of milk with Bitcoin. And so I had this sort of equivalency in my brain of like, well, if you can't spend it, then it's not really money, right? The shift that I've made is that I'm kind of like Bitcoin is to money as, like gold is to the US dollar, right? I feel like the play for Bitcoin is not to use it every day for spending, but as a place to potentially store your wealth for the long term, similar to something like gold. And I think, some characteristics. Well, I'm not the only one that thinks this, but it has some characteristics that are fairly similar to gold in that, there's a finite amount and, scarcity tends to do things to the price, as we all know, right? When there's a flood of something, the price goes down. When there's limited supply, the price goes up, which we're certainly seeing. Then I started looking into the fact that institutional investors are also taking pretty significant positions in Bitcoin. There's one in particular, probably the largest, is called Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. This is for extremely wealthy people. They will not accept an application from me to get into that trust. But reading up on Twitter and reading the offering on Grayscale's website, there's a pretty significant demand, I think, for, sort of like the traditional investor to find ways to get exposure to this asset class, really, in their portfolios. So I kind of wanted to throw that out there. I'm one of these guys that, many, many years back, I had like a couple $100 in Bitcoin that subsequently got lost on an old hard drive. Man, I wish I had that back. I mean, we're not talking huge amounts of money. At this point, it's probably tens of thousands of dollars, right? But at that time, it was just a couple $100. So it's kind of weird for me to like make this full shift to say that, like, look, I've actually taken a position on this asset class, thinking of it like gold. My time horizon is, decades, not between now and tomorrow. I don't know. Wanted to throw that out there simply because there's so much froth on this. Like other digital currencies are also affected by this. Ethereum is kind of at an all-time high, sitting right now at a very near to its all-time high. So it kind of feels like people are taking this more seriously. I wanted to talk about this, and I know in this particular group there are a lot of opinions and things to discuss. So let's have at it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, at least you're not like that guy that spent 10,000 bitcoins to buy a pizza in 2010. About that? That has to be the most expensive pizza in history. Now, at the time, I'm sure, there is no way to know, right? But I just think that's just plain crazy.
Well, see that, and that's my biggest problem with it. Like if you think Bitcoin is money, right? Like one of the things I like the most about my money is that when I go to the store and buy a bottle of, say, like Diet Coke, it's roughly the same price the next week. It's kind of around, even with inflation, it's around $1, right? But at least in the US, this hasn't happened. I know some other countries have dealt with some pretty massive inflationary forces in the past, but like if I a month down the line look at that bottle of Coke or Diet Coke that I bought, and it's now $300 of value, like that's really hard to live with. Like you kind of want your money, the thing that you trade for goods, to roughly be the equivalent of each other for long periods of time. And Bitcoin certainly does not have that attribute yet, right? It's really frothy. Like, there are some days where you're seeing, especially at this level, seeing 30%, up and down in the same day.
It's crazy. It's highly volatile, and that's exactly, that's one of the main problems. That one, and also the transaction costs. So if you're going to buy something, there are high transaction costs right now, which prevents you from using it as a currency. So yeah.
I have a question though. I mean, I realize, yeah, Brent, you said you moved away from the skepticism around Bitcoin. Me, I'm not over it still. So I've had my doubts about Bitcoin, possibly because I don't know enough about it. Like I haven't really delved deep into the technology and like everything going around Bitcoin, but I do follow the trends in the news and everything. My question to you guys is, what do you think is the appeal to Bitcoin? Because you made the comparison with gold, right? Gold, we know it's a rare element. You can see it. It's shiny. It's nice. It's beautiful and everything. Bitcoin is just another digital currency. What makes Bitcoin different from all the thousands and thousands of other digital currencies that are out there? Why is Bitcoin the one that it's $40,000 and not, I don't know, Dogecoin or whatever, 9gag coin?
Dogecoin.
Yeah.
Well, Dogecoin, after Elon Musk tweeted about it, I believe yesterday, like it had a 500% run also. So Elon is like a market maker.
Pretty much, yeah.
You guys heard the whole deal where he encouraged everyone to use Signal instead of WhatsApp. Yep. And then this other company named Signal on the NASDAQ saw a massive increase in their value. People going out there and buying the wrong company simply because he tweeted it, right?
I'm sure that somewhere out there are like algorithms just listening to everything that he says or tweets, and then just making bets based on that.
Yeah,
it's just insane.
So Darko, I want to get back to your question there before we ramble on too long. There's a lot to talk about here, so I feel like this could go on forever. But with Bitcoin, why Bitcoin? I think it's what the market has selected, right? Like what makes Bitcoin, in my opinion, different from all of the other cryptocurrencies out there are the sort of liquidity of it. The volume is pretty significant day over day. And that's kind of it. Like markets decide which currency is going to be valuable for the long term. And I think that's where Bitcoin lives right now. I'm really sort of bullish on Ethereum though. And part of it is we had exposure to a company, a digital currency wallet through our work together, Fede and I did. So I understand Ethereum pretty well, and Ethereum, unlike Bitcoin, is like a platform, right, that you can sort of build upon. It's got this like smart contract ability. So depending on certain conditions, or if certain conditions are met, the the Ethereum system itself can sort of execute code and be smart about things that are happening. So that's something that I was pretty interested in too, and the market kind of looks at it that way too. Those are the two leaders, right? Bitcoin and Ethereum are sort of neck and neck. Interestingly, though, if you look at their charts, they sort of mirror each other. When Bitcoin is really up, Ethereum is really up, and when Ethereum takes a tank, so does Bitcoin. They sort of tend to flow to each other. But anyway, that's why I think why Bitcoin. I don't know, Fede. Like, what are your thoughts on this? I know you've been studying this for a long time too.
Yeah, so yeah, the what you were saying about the price movement, yeah, I think the market as a whole moves together with Bitcoin. Like if Bitcoin goes up, all the crypto assets go up with it. If it goes down, it brings all of them down on average, right? There are some outliers out there. I think the main reason for me that Bitcoin has such a high price is that it was the first project. It was the first one to go to market, and so it has an advantage over other projects. Maybe there are some other projects out there that have better technology or some cool, interesting stuff, but Bitcoin it was the first, and because of that, it leads the market. I also agree with Brent. Like Ethereum is very interesting. Like it's the Wild West. Like people are building some really cool stuff on Ethereum. So I think just because of that, it's worth paying attention to, even if you don't, buy any crypto or anything like that. Some interesting stuff is happening there, and it's good to just at least pay attention to it from time to time.
There's an interesting thing. There's a project that I'm following. Have not put any money behind, but just following. So there are these different exchanges that Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other digital currencies trade on. So, for example, it's like Coinbase or Gemini or Bittrex, or there's a bunch of them out there, right? And they all offer various things to try to attract people to store and then exchange their digital currency on their exchange versus another. Well, that's created actually a bit of a problem, especially for the exchanges that are maybe less liquid than the large ones, in that on a particular exchange, if you have a lot of money, you can push around that exchange by buying a lot or selling a lot and sort of like manipulate the price in the gap of time that it takes for those exchanges to kind of communicate with one another around what the average price is for that particular period of time. So the project that's working to fix that is actually built on Ethereum. It's called Link. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that, but they're working to be like an oracle for all the different exchanges, so that pricing is no longer sort of reflective of that particular exchange, and it's not like a global thing, kind of like a NASDAQ or like a centralized sort of pricing component, which is pretty interesting when you think about that potential, window of opportunity that somebody with a lot of money and a lot of brains could exploit. Projects like Link, I think are just one way that you can sort of use like the Ethereum and the smart contract concept to sort of keep things in sync. So anyway,
and they have on Ethereum, right? One of the cool things that they have is you can run smart contracts, and those are programs that run on the blockchain itself, and that allows you to do some really cool stuff. You can create a program that has different functions, and you can execute them and carry out business transactions in a programmatic way, which is good and bad. I mean, it depends on the code, I guess. But I that's just one example of interesting and cool stuff that is happening. And there's a lot of stuff there. It's changing all the time. It's very fast paced. So yeah, if you have some time, just pay attention to what's happening in that system.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts now about Bitcoin, Ethereum? Like, you guys invest? You want to invest in it? You want to buy some other coins? Like, what are your thoughts around it? I mean, I know it's a silly question. Maybe everybody's like, "Oh, should I buy now?" And is it gonna go to 100K up or not? But You guys know about this stuff a lot more than I do. I'm just curious what you think.
No, I don't know if I know a lot, but I from time to time I do read a few things. So my personal opinion on, say, Bitcoin, for example, I think I like the ideals behind it. I like the idea of removing control, like essentially like taking the power away from governments and central banks. I think that's a very interesting idea. So I like that. As a currency, I'm highly skeptical. I think right now it's being used mainly as a speculation tool. So I buy it because I think somebody else is going to buy it at a higher price later, and I think that's driving the price. I also see, even though I don't agree with it, I do think people are buying it, like Brent was saying, as a store of value, just like gold. So people are buying it as a way of, you have a financial instrument or asset, different type of asset that is not correlated with anything else in the market. So it's just a completely different thing. Like, it's not gold, it's not a commodity. It's just a completely new thing, digital, and people are buying it just for protection. Also because there is a lot of uncertainty with what's going on lately, like the Fed injecting a ton of money in the economy through QE and so on. So there are some arguments for it. I just don't see it as a currency and as a store of value. In my opinion, there are some things that as a technology, it still has to solve. And I can give you one. For example, like, what happens if you, maybe somebody already solved this, I don't know, but what happens if you lose your passphrase? Like, not so long ago, there was a story about this guy in San Francisco that he lost the passphrase to unlock his wallet. And I don't remember how much money he had, but it was
like $220 million.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Imagine that happening to you. And you can lose it. I mean, we all work in technology, so we're fairly good at managing our own passwords, but it can happen to you for any reason. Like, you get into an accident, or 20, 30 years from now, you get Alzheimer's, and then you forget your passphrase. Like, how are you going to handle that situation? So that's one aspect. And the other aspect is, as a currency, the transactions are irreversible. So that means if I buy something, like if I, I'm moving right now. So if I hire a moving company and something goes wrong, if I pay them and there is a problem, there is no way for me to challenge that. That transaction was irreversible. So that's another aspect that I think needs to be solved. And maybe smart contracts on Ethereum are a way to solve that. But just talking about Bitcoin, those are a few things that in my opinion, still need to be solved and make me skeptical about it as a currency.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I am still skeptical. I'm just, kind of stating that I'm starting to change my mind on it, which, given that I'm up there in years, I think is just a win overall, that that a mind can be changed. But there, aside from those issues that you're talking about, Fede, and I totally agree, right? Like, it's happened to me, right? I somewhere in my house exists a thumb drive with an encrypted file on it that has, my Bitcoins from way back in the day. It's some fraction of a Bitcoin, I'm positive, but still, it's like, it's gone, man. It is gone. Unless I somehow find that and find the right one, and then remember the password. So it's just how it is. I do like some of the things that have changed since the last time I looked at this. And I'm not endorsing this, but the Winklevoss twins from Facebook, they have a company called Gemini. I don't like those guys for some reason. However, I do like their company a lot, and they've solved some of that, like, real high security situation where you can actually keep your Bitcoin in their cold storage. So that's an option. And then, of course, with Bitcoin, you could take it off the chain completely and have it like on an encrypted drive that you have, that you wear around your neck, or you put in a safe deposit box or whatever you want. It is literally your thing. But that comes with some of the downsides that you've already pointed out there, Fede, which are very, very real. That said, though, like, the other side of this, though, is like, has there ever been a way before where you can send like value across the globe as fast and as secure as that? So I spent a decent amount of my year in this little country called Uruguay. It's Fede's country. And I can't even tell you the number of hoops I've had to jump through just to get like a rent payment or to pay the common functions in my apartment complex, like for the doorman and things like that. It's darn near impossible to do from like an American bank account to the Uruguayan system. Wash, rinse, repeat that across the globe. It's extremely complicated to do, with this type of currency. And let's just take Bitcoin out for a second. Like that type of transaction is, you don't even think about it. And it happens in a few seconds to a couple of minutes in some cases. It's like those aspects of this to me are just really, really attractive, right? Every year that goes by, the economy becomes more and more global. The world becomes more, much smaller. Figuring out a way to do payments across the globe is a challenge, and big banks have a stranglehold on that right now, and they charge you for it. Believe me, I've been through it. So I don't know what your guys' thoughts are about that, but like that is a unique thing that I really like.
It's not just the charging by the banks. It's the sheer amount of time that it takes. For example, if you want to send me from the Netherlands, if I want to send it back to myself in Macedonia or something, it takes 3 to 4 days. Like I mean, it might be just us because we live in a world of IT, and for us, milliseconds are a lot of time when you talk about these metrics. But the sheer time that it takes for banks to process this, and then it gets stuck, and then you need paperwork and proof of this and proof of that, and all kinds of identifications. That's the bigger issue for me. Like charging costs and everything, I can live with that. But if you charge me, I want to get it right away. Like I don't want the bank charging me and then wait for 4 days to get something simple as a payment done.
We're in IT, we're in software. Like you can't imagine what takes that long, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's even the slowest computer on the planet is faster than 4 days, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a reason for that, like too, because I think there's like some fraud prevention stuff. There's like the FINRA rules if you're tied to the US in some way, but yeah, it still should be way faster than like, do they take the money in a satchel, attach it to a mule, walk that mule across Europe? That's about 4 days, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Pretty much, yeah. Like I don't get it. But yeah, I agree with you, Brent. That aspect of it, like the sheer instantaneous actions that you can do with it, and like the globalized effect and like generalization of it, that aspect I love. Like I'm all for pushing future like banks or economies or whatever to actually start thinking about that kind of process and like unifying it across the globe as much as possible.
Yeah. I will say just throwing a comment there. What I really like about, it doesn't have to be Bitcoin, like projects like this, the ideals behind it of removing power away from government and the Fed in the US are highly appealing to me. Like, for example, the Fed pumping trillions of dollars into the economy, it doesn't benefit the average person in the US. It benefits the people that own the assets already, at the expense of, in my opinion, at the expense of the general population. So taking that power away from them, from the Fed, and I think it's an interesting idea, worth exploring, regardless of which project wins in the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. And actually, that like there's a talking point in there too. There's been a ton of speculation, especially since we're going through like the change of presidency, right now in the United States, that Bitcoin might get regulated away. Because whenever a power structure or system like the Fed is in control, they don't want to just give it up, and they're probably not going to take it, lightly. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on, governments trying to regulate and potentially like make it illegal to use technology like this so that they can resume their or maintain their control. I'm going to get to that in a second. The other point I wanted to make is, this has never happened in my lifetime in the United States to me, waking up one day and having like your currency, the value of your currency be half or a third of what it was, the night before. But it is a reality, and it's happened. Like I think of our friends in Argentina. This is something that's happened multiple times, unfortunately, and it's something that literally they have zero control over. The government decides one day to do an action that cuts the value in half, and you're stuck with it. With something like Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever, that can't happen, right? So it's like there's a big part of me that thinks that this is sort of here to stay. And one thing I do know, once governments make something illegal, that doesn't necessarily stamp out the desire to own these types of assets, right? So it's like, I don't know, it's a tough one. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on that.
Well, I can tell you one thing for sure. I mean, last time I checked, which was a couple of years ago, maybe something changed in the meantime, but in Macedonia, actually, it is illegal to own cryptocurrency of any kind. So
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think you're not allowed to own it because they cannot tax you on it. It's not regulated. It's like it doesn't exist anywhere in the country, sort of say. So I think I'd have to double check whether that's still the case. But last time I checked, that was actually the case, that it is quite illegal to own cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that it's illegal. They see it potentially as a threat. I think that's a risk. If you're buying any kind of crypto asset, be it Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever that may be, the more it grows, the higher. This is my personal opinion. The more it grows, the higher the risk of governments potentially banning it or regulating it, because it changes the status quo. It can be perceived as a threat, because the governments use, for example, central banks. What I was saying before, they do monetary policy. If you stop using the government-backed currency, that's just, they won't be able to exert that control anymore. So, it brings a lot of problems to them. So I do think that it's likely that at some point they may try to regulate it again. I think they tried in the past. So
yeah. Well, here in the U.S., like when I was taking a look at, I'm not going to say which exchange I used, but it's set up. It looks a lot like any other brokerage account you might have, meaning that here in the U.S., perfectly legal to own, obviously. Pay your taxes on it, and you're all good, right? So just like you would with a stock, if you take a short-term position, less than a year and a day, and you make money on that transaction, you pay your income tax rate. And if you have a long position, longer than a year and a day, when you sell and you make money, it's that, I think, what is a long-term gain is like 15% or whatever. So as long as you treat it like an asset class, or you treat it like any other investment that you might make, and you pay your taxes on it, you're all good for now. I'm just curious, like what may happen, what may happen going forward.
Yeah.
But like, here's why I decided to kind of take it a little more seriously. With large investor pools like Grayscale, for example, opening it up to like that, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is the entry point for other funds to take a position in digital currency. That opens the door for, hedge funds. We're going to talk about a real fun story about hedge funds here in a second, but, other funds basically to trade in that asset. So, once that starts happening, like, does it seem legit that our government could come in and say, look, guys, rules have changed. Like, you're screwed out of that money. I mean, money is how our government runs. You think they're going to let that happen?
I don't know. I don't think that it will happen, unless, like, as long as Bitcoin, for example, right? Like, as long as it's being used as a store of value, just like gold, like digital gold, I don't think they're going to care. And I don't think they're going to care if if there are big investment firms making money out of it and people are paying their taxes. I do think that they're going to start caring if people start using it as a currency, because that will threaten the position of
Yeah.
the USD, and I don't think that they're just going to let that happen. So if things start to change and it becomes more of a currency, then we may see some changes there. But right now, like, that's not the case. So, but it is a risk, right? Like, it can happen. Like, nobody knows.
You know what I'm curious now? Like, why is it illegal to own cryptocurrencies, but it's not illegal to own what are, one of those like sites where you can buy 1 square meter of forest in Scotland and have your name changed to Lord Dark or Lord Brent or something? Like, why
Please tell me
isn't
you've done that.
no, I haven't. I've seen the ads pop up on Instagram or Google ads or everywhere, but I'm just curious. Like, it's an asset as well, right?
Yeah.
If you buy a
Yeah.
piece of
I
land,
mean,
it's 1 square meter, but who knows? One Bitcoin at one point
I,
was cents of
I mean,
dollars.
yeah,
yeah.
I don't know what their arguments are in the case of Macedonia. My personal opinion is like it should not be illegal. Like, not like, just let people do what they want to do. That's my position most of the time. Like, don't try to
Well, I
protect
mean,
people by controlling them. Yeah.
yeah, it's the same. It could be a Magic the Gathering card. Some of those are like worth a lot of money, right? Like if your investment strategy includes like that as an asset class, it at the end of the day, it's no different than like a Bitcoin or a chunk of gold or whatever else. It's like something that has some kind of intrinsic value to it for whatever reason, is kind of it. So it is weird that they would regulate that. I've heard some people, especially in government, those that don't understand this very well. There's a great meme on this, by the way. Our new Treasury Secretary said something about like, hey, Bitcoin, is often used for like nefarious acts or illegal criminal activity. and the meme is this guy with a rolled up $100 bill and Coke on his nose, and he's like, "Yeah, wait do you see what we do with the $100 bills?" It's so funny, man. It's so funny, but it's just that like I think people don't really understand it. It sounds dark and dangerous, and think of the role of the media here. Like when you hear of the dark web or what was that place where you could go to buy drugs in the deep web on Tor? I can't remember what it's called now.
Silk Road or something.
Yeah, the Silk Road, right? Well, Bitcoin is what people paid with, so naturally,
Yeah.
naturally, it's a bad thing. But I think again, with time, with these other like groups of investors starting to pay attention to it, I feel like it's kind of hard at this point to stop it. So I think regulation is probably what you end up seeing at some point. But hey, who knows? Who knows? You asked a question before, Darko, about like where does it go? Man, I have heard some crazy speculation. Bitcoin to $250,000 per coin by the end of the decade, or something like that.
Yeah.
Isn't that? I mean, it's just
Hey, who knows? It can very well happen. It can either go to 200,000 or zero. Like, it just, or more than 200,000. I mean, who knows? Yeah. Isn't it funny how most of the arguments are always the same, right? They need to protect the citizens or the public from themselves. Yeah. It's
of
just
course.
like they need to come up with new arguments, in my opinion. But
Brent, by sheer accident, you just reminded me of a really funny story from when I was a kid. You mentioned Magic the Gathering, the cards.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I was playing those, and I wasn't like a super heavy into it. I had an allowance of like one pack a week or every 2 weeks or something from my parents, and I was a lucky bastard at that point that I got in one of the packs. I got the rarest card possible, like from that edition, and it was even had a shiny foil on it that made it even rarer. Like, people gave me from that store where I bought, like they were giving me like hundreds of packs, like new packs unopened, like here you go, like just for that one card. I was like, no, I'm gonna keep it. And then I gifted it to a friend of mine. I think right now, I checked it about a year or two ago, and right now it's worth about $200, $300 or something, that card.
So I heard a story that like isn't there a Magic the Gathering like first season? It's like some real OP card, but it's tens of thousands of dollars if you have one that's like in good shape. Have you heard the same or?
I don't know that one. Haven't
Okay.
heard about it.
I might have to do a little like in post. I'll do a little searching and if I can find a link to it, I'll throw it in in the show notes.
I'm curious to see that too. Yeah. As far as I understand, what happened is this major hedge fund tried to shortlist. Is it shortlist? No, it's a shorting.
Short sell.
Short sell, yeah, of a stock. I've never done any stock trading in my life, so these terms escape me. So tried to short, basically bet that GameStop stock would fall down and bought like massive amounts of it to later sell it or buy it or whatever. And then this internet community from Wall Street Bets from Reddit group, I think it was, came together and basically went on a mission to basically stick it to the man. So did I get my story straight? Like I may not be fully detailed technical about this. I'll leave those details up to you, Brent. But
yeah, I mean that's effectively it, and I don't know that anything on this scale has ever happened like this before. So for those that aren't familiar, and I've never actually like shorted anything, my investment profile is always just buy and hold. I'm probably the most boring investor ever. I just buy a stock, put it in the portfolio and leave it until the end of time. That's kind of my goal. But with short selling, and there's a lot of folks that do this, it can be really dangerous, right? You can make a ton of money and you can lose even more if you're not careful. And short selling is basically promising to sell a stock at one price and then waiting, hoping it goes down so that you can fill that sale with a cheaper stock and then you get the difference. The hedge fund, I think it's Melvin Capital, they made some pretty big mistakes there. They not only were they shorting it, they were telling the world that they were shorting it and why, probably trying to create that downward pressure. And they did something called overshorting, which means that they were shorting more shares that were even available. And so I think in that Wall Street Bets group that there are some really astute people that were paying attention to that situation in particular and then started buying to drive the price up. When I was looking at this yesterday, that hedge fund, Melvin Capital, I believe it is, they had lost something like $6 billion in a couple of days. And they only manage 12 billion in assets. So that's like half of the value.
Crazy. I mean, that's crazy.
And they're stuck. They can't close out their positions because these people that have bought it and are holding it aren't have driven the price up super high, and there's no liquidity. There's just not enough like sitting out there for them to actually close out their position. So they really have these guys, to use a technical term, by the balls in this particular scenario. Now, what's even interesting, and this, I know Fed is going to react to this because I had the similar reaction. A lot of these folks are not big traders. They're, like construction workers and waitresses and, bartenders and things. And they were using an app called Robinhood, which here in the US is a kind of no commission, easy way to get into what they call retail investing, and this, in my opinion, and many others around me, probably yours too, Fede, they manipulated the market. They stopped trading on these platforms so that the hedge fund could change their positions and close things out and kind of like cut their losses. Highly illegal, or at least it ought to be highly illegal. We were talking about this before the show. What a world we live in right now. AOC, Donald Trump Jr., and Ted Cruz all agree on this topic. Like they are all in the same boat. Yeah. Fede, I can see you like just getting ready to talk. Man. Let's get into it.
I agree with that. It was total bullshit. The same argument, there there are arguments for it, like liquidity from like Robinhood and a bunch of other stuff. But I do, suspect that the real reason behind it is that aren't they owned by Citadel or something like that? Which so it's so
Yeah.
it could have been a play to allow the hedge fund to core and limit their losses, because that's the thing with shorting, right? Like you were describing, but it's unlimited risk. If the stock price,
Unlimited.
just look at that graph, man. Like it's just freaking rocket, like vertical. I have never seen something like that. It's just insane. So that's unlimited risk for them. And if people don't sell, they cannot core, because who are they going to buy the stock? Like if nobody's selling, they cannot core their position. So they're pretty much fucked at that point. And what happened there was total bullshit. Like the whole argument about needing to protect retailers, which I read online. I mean, let people do whatever it is that they want to do. I think it's crazy and I think it's insane. But if people want to buy it, then they should be able to buy it. Like, why are they being restricted? It's just yeah. And it looks like and smells like manipulation. So
It
I mean,
goes the same way. Like if you get those, like for example, poker apps. Like if I want to buy more poker chips and play and keep losing, why doesn't game say, okay, you cannot buy anymore to protect yourself, right? Isn't it the same exact deal with this thing? Like except
Well,
that in this sense, like in this case, you're not even losing it, so to speak. You're keeping it. It's still around. It may go down in value, it may go up, but
it's
you've
well,
not
in this
technically
scenario, it's the hedge fund that needs protection, not the retail investor, because the
exactly.
retail investor using something like Robinhood, they're coming in on a position, they're buying a stock, maybe they're buying it I mean, let's face it, the price of the stock is way beyond the fundamentals of the company GameStop. Like it should not have a $10 billion market cap. That's bigger than Kia. That's bigger than like there are somebody, one of my friends sent me a list of companies that have a smaller market cap than GameStop right now. Oh, HP is on the list. I mean, that doesn't make any sense at all. Scarcity drives price and speculation drives price. And that's the dynamic that's being played with here, which I think is just fantastic.
It's a massive short squeeze. That's what it is. It no longer has anything to do with the fundamentals of the company or the intrinsic value of the company. Like the game right now is how high can we push this price up to essentially, like the shorts are going to go bankrupt over it. And that's, and it will continue if they don't stop it. I mean, who knows how high it can go. But I think people should be allowed to buy at any price that they want. That's the market. So, this whole argument about like restricting the trades, I think is, I mean, maybe there are valid reasons for it, but it just looks like bullshit to me. So,
yeah, I agree. It's funny that this Reddit group is crazy. I don't know how. It's Reddit, so you never know how true anything is that you read on Reddit. But there are people on there that are like, "Hey, I just YOLO'd the house on GameStop," or which YOLO is like. I think it's slang for I'm placing all of my bets, like everything I have, into this.
Yeah, that
which seems insane to me,
and it's dangerous too. That's, I mean, here's my take on it is like people should be allowed to buy anything they want at any price that they want. Now, the reality is that at the end, like there are going to be a lot of losers. There are going to be a lot of like holding the bag, because this thing at some point will come crashing down. When that's going, like, who knows when that will happen, but I think it will happen at some point, and whoever buys at the top will lose. Some people are going to get rich. Some already, I'm sure they're already in the Caribbean, but a lot of people are going to suffer, and that's the thing, though. Like some people they don't know what they're doing, and like if I really hope nobody's betting their house on this, or because that would be insane. But
that would certainly be not a good thing. So that definitely do not take any investment advice from us too, by the way. If you're listening, I don't want that blood on my hands. Like I have such an old school way of thinking about this stuff. So have you guys ever heard of Richard Wyckoff? He was like a day trader probably like 100 years ago. Self-made, millionaire, billionaire type. And like, people always get this wrong, especially when the things are frothy, like right now with GameStop. Like, the trick is you buy when the stock is low and sell it when it's high. But because of like, media and all that, there's this FOMO, fear of missing out. So when the stock is pumping and it's super high, people buy at that point. And then when it starts to go down for whatever reason, warranted or not, they see themselves losing money and they hit sell. And so now you've done exactly the opposite of what the stock market is designed to do. You are buying high and selling low, which is,
Yeah,
that's how you're going
exactly.
to lose your money. This Wyckoff guy, if you do some research on him, I can put a link in the show notes. He had some really cool ideas, but his thing was big positions you take when he says there's blood in the streets, like when everyone else is crying and bleeding, even if it's your own blood. The hesitancy that a lot of people have, because we're emotional, right, is to take your money out. But he's like, no, that's when you double down, you put in, you stake your long term, is when there's a ton of pain, right? And it's kind of funny to see, because we're kind of seeing the opposite right now. Lots of people, I've gotten texts from several folks that I know do not invest, asking me about GameStop.
Oh,
like,
man.
should I put some money in GameStop? And my rule is, if you're reading about it on CNN, it's too
for sure.
damn late at this point.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
I feel.
It's and
Yeah.
that's the thing. People, like, exactly. You're exactly right. People are emotional about selling and emotional about buying too. So I don't know if people fully understand why they're buying it, what the play is there, because the GameStop is not worth like 200. Right now it's like $292 a share. So it is not worth that. The only reason you can, you may want to buy it if you think you can sell it to another fool later for a higher price, because you think the price will continue to go up. And the reason that you think that it will continue to go up is because, like you were saying, Brent, they shorted the stock more than 100%. So the amount that was shorted is more than the amount of stocks available. So that creates a situation where you can have a short squeeze, and that's what happened. And yes, like, some people were very clever, and I was looking online before before this show, and there was a guy months ago. Um, he considered himself like a value investor, so he looks for companies that are selling for less than what they're really worth, in his opinion. And he was making an argument for GameStop.
Mm-hmm.
The username apparently is deep fucking value. Sorry for the. But
No,
hey,
it's
that's
the
the
Wild
name. That's
West
the
of the
username, and
internet.
he
The
has
name.
like you can check this out online. Like, he has a YouTube channel as well, and I think now, like, his name is all over the news, which I don't think it's a good idea. But anyway, this guy was making an argument for it. He was explaining the reasons behind why he thought the stock was undervalued and so on. And then, well, when he identified that it was that the shorting position was over 100%, I mean, that was just people jumped on it immediately to make money, and it became a thing. And now look at this; it's just insane. And it's just crazy. I mean, I wish I had seen it too. I didn't, so I missed that train. But oh well.
Can you imagine the stress and the pressure on those poor cats that put that short order in over shorting?
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean,
Imagine those meetings right now. Like, that's just, yeah.
I do have a question though. Do you guys feel like, because from what I'm reading, like the memes and the news and the Google searches and everything, it sounds to me like at this point it's people are not investing to see how much money they can make, but to actually see how much money they can make the hedge fund
Yes.
pay. It's sort of, they're ready to lose whatever investment they've made to it, just so they can see the hedge fund pay for their what's the word that I'm looking for here?
their greediness.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I feel like it has become more than just a means of like making money on that stock. I feel like people have gone to it and like took it a bit more personal.
I don't know what to say about that, but yeah, it is
I
true.
mean, it is true. There is a part of me that, like, I'm not going to, but there's a part of me that really wants to just like buy 2 shares. I don't care what the price is, but just to have them to say like I did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm far too conservative for that. But yeah, it's weird. I mean, and that's great for the people that organize this thing, because that's their path to, millions and millions of dollars. That person, Fede, that you were talking about, I'm not going to repeat the name because, well, I can't remember it anyway. But he took like a $50,000 position or something like that with leverage, and was screenshotting his portfolio as it went up. It was like 50,000 million, 20 million. Like, it's just
it's insane. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I
ridiculous.
wish if I had seen that, I mean, I wouldn't be here right now. I'll be probably in a Pacific island or recording from a Pacific island.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, man. Like, he,
Yeah. I mean, these kinds of things aren't going to happen every day. So like you kind of need to get right with am I like a day trader where I'm going to be sitting around looking for these kinds of situations and then taking advantage of them when you can? Or am I a really good software engineer, or an average one in your case, Fede?
thanks for that, man.
Just kidding, man. No. Yeah, of course, couldn't miss an opportunity. And I want to focus on that, because that's probably your best chance of making good money in this life, right? And then investing for the future. Like that's a decision I made a long, long time ago. When I got started was like the original .com bubble, and there was a lot of chatter, lots of talk about day trading. Everybody wanted to be a day trader and all that, and it just it never really appealed to me. It's a lot of work, and you can lose a lot of money.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean,
do you know
that's
what I
just
mean?
the way it is. I mean, and also, like in this case, the reason that the price just exploded is because of Reddit, that subreddit. Like, so in a way, like, I think he got a bit lucky.
Yeah.
But it's just, I mean, just looking at that graph, I'm looking at the graph now. It's just insane. So
Yeah. So here are the companies that have a smaller market cap than GameStop right now: Hewlett Packard, 32 billion; Kia Motors, 32 billion; Barclays of London, 31.7 billion.
Wow.
Those are all billions. Was I saying billion? Yeah, I think so.
Capital B.
I mean, doesn't that just make sense? Like the little shop in every single mall in America that sells like old Nintendo cartridges.
But
oh man,
I guess this is a valuable lesson that people can take out of this one. You do not taunt the internet. So if you're a hedge fund short selling a stock, do it, keep it quiet, do it yourself. Do not boast about it on the internet, because the internet community is a big and nasty place. And if one person smells blood over there, it's gonna go crazy. Things like this can happen, and it's not always directed to money, but yeah, I remember this was maybe 6 months, a year ago. You remember when the internet community basically rallied against TikTok? So people were just downloading the app just so they can give it a 1-star review and then deleting the app. This was
I do remember that.
literally like millions of people just doing it out of spite against. I don't even know what the initial cause was, but it just goes to show like how easily people can unite behind an idea on the internet. It doesn't matter if it's justified or like a good idea, but yeah, it just happens. So it's a very, you need to be careful around those things.
Sure.
So
I'm sure now,
it'll be interesting.
I'm sure now, like, hedge funds are going to try to add or incorporate this new threat into their models. Like the hive mentality of Reddit. Like, so
yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, these are not dumb people, right? And they have sort of a history of being able to manipulate things to their advantage through sheer force of will and money and all that. So it'll be interesting to see how the rules change, or what people do going forward. I mean, people short sell all the time, right? Like even average traders do it. So it's not like you're taking a position on like, hey, you shouldn't short the market ever. It's like this particular hedge fund in this particular time drew the short stick and, decided to have the internet come after it.
I do wonder if there is going to be an impact on the prices. And like the prices in the market are already high. But now because of this, I do wonder though, like if you have this threat of potentially like a group of people on Reddit, like just shooting up the price of the stock that you are, say, shorting. I don't know. I mean, I think people are going to be, by people I mean organizations like hedge funds, too, more cautious about shorting, and that kind of mean that the prices could go up a bit because shorting the stock, what it does is also it helps move the price towards its real intrinsic value price. Like, so if people are not as willing to short anymore, then there's going to be less of a downward pressure on the price. So that can mean like it can push the price higher. I don't know. That's just like my 2-second analysis on what could potentially happen.
No, I think you're exactly right. I do. And not only that, like if a big firm takes a short position, it often drops the value of the stock, the price of the stock, because others assume, that a big short like that is or being placed is like a bearish trend, right? So it can have that effect as well, and has historically too. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting situation all in all. I think the next 24 hours are going to be just as interesting. I was clicking through and reading. Apparently, there's a class action lawsuit that was filed yesterday afternoon against Robinhood, and there's some talk about some congressional hearings coming out of this too. So there's for those that know the podcast Barstool Sports, I never watch it, but I saw this guy on Twitter, David Portnoy. He is screaming at the top of his lungs about people need to go to jail over this, and he made a statement basically to the effect of he is not going to stop until someone is locked up. Like, stop talking about this or anything else. So it's like, whoo. It's hot right now.
Whose side is he on? Like, who does he
side
think should go to jail? Somebody from the hedge fund, somebody from Robinhood, or somebody from the Reddit group?
No, not the Reddit group. So the Reddit group has done nothing illegal at all. Like, all they're doing is buying stock. Literally, anybody can do that. There's a lot of chatter that like what Robinhood and other market or other like trading apps did to stop the buying of stock is manipulation.
Yeah.
And I agree.
Yeah. I agree.
Who knows? The facts may come out to be different and whoever or whatever else. But like, if that is the case, that's what this Portnoy guy is saying, then like, why does the hedge fund get special rules?
Yep.
When your average investor does not, and that is not the way our system is designed. It might be how it's used often, but in this case, like if you've got somebody with their hand in the cookie jar, it's example time. And I would not want to be whoever that person is at this moment in time. I'd be looking for a different country to exist in, probably.
Yeah, I guess this was the first domino to be knocked over. Well,
yeah,
it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a whole chain of events that's gonna happen after this.
It'll be interesting to see what comes next.
Well, gentlemen, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Darko, welcome back. We missed you. We're looking forward to getting back into the groove of things around here in the new year, 2021, and all that.
Yep, super happy to be back. Missed you guys too.
The DevNull podcast is a bi-weekly science and technology podcast brought to you by Darko Klincharski, Brent Kastner, and Fede Zagarzazu.
Hey, and if you guys have any feedback for our show, do let us know. You can find our contact details in the show notes.
Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, have a great day.